So, for example, in Surah 3, verse 144, it says, "And Muhammad was not except a messenger. Messengers have already vacated from before him. So if he died or was killed, ye inverted over your heels. And whoever inverts over his two heels, then he will never harm Allah a thing, and Allah will soon apportion the thanking ones." Right. So this one is a bit unusual, even though it says, "And Muhammad was not except a messenger." It is not a verbal sentence. It doesn't have was in there. It's not. The reason why Murad would translate it in that manner is because the rest of the sentence is talking in the past tense. So it would not make sense if you translate the first bit in the present, for instance, and then you continue translating the rest of the sentence with no stops in the past tense. It would not make sense. But in the Arabic, there is no was not, because it's a nominal sentence. But that's all right. So this is saying that Muhammad was, in the past tense, well, it's a nominal sentence, but Muhammad is basically just a messenger, and other messengers had already vacated from before. All right. But then this sentence, which anybody who has followed the Christian Prince for any length of time, they would have heard him talk about this verse, because it says, "If he died or was killed," and the Christian Prince often says, "Is there a third option? If he died or was killed?" That's it. Those are the only two options. Why is this thing in there? And seeing the previous two verses, which they are talking in the past tense about a Mahmad, which seems to remove people's sins and stuff, this would then point towards this Muhammad being once again Jesus, and there is a problem between the either death or being killed. And what do you think about that wonderful piece of information that we have in this verse, Kash?
The way I see it, it reads essentially like Obama giving a speech, where it's just, I got this also from Christian Prince, where he just calls him a panderer, essentially, right? You say whatever the crowd wants to hear. So it feels to me in the vein of this kind of pandering. What I mean by that is this question of whether, I'm going to just assert very forcefully that we're talking about Jesus, right? But so the question of whether Jesus was killed is a very crucial question at the heart of the Quran. We see that in instances of the I think it's 4171, or I might have the exact reference wrong, but the verses which speak about Christ being crucified or not being killed or not being crucified and this kind of information, right? It's this question which draws to this this core tension that was most likely occurring amongst the Jewish communities, which is essentially, how are we going to believe in Jesus? We killed him. Things like this, right? So I think that what the verse is actually doing is it's addressing a audience which could feasibly hold the position that he was killed, or could feasibly hold the position that he was not killed, or that he was, that he died, or that he was killed. And we spoke about it briefly in another stream, but there is a very good argument to be made that a proper Christian would not claim that Jesus was killed, in the strict sense that Christ, in his own words, says, "No one can take my life, only I can give it on my own accord." And in that sense, a Christian would say, for example, "No, he wasn't killed." And then someone else might maybe have a different kind of Christian position, or maybe someone who was Judaic and not Christian or something like this. They could have a difference of opinion. "No, he was killed. We killed him. No, he wasn't killed. He gave his own life," right? So to me, it reads like someone who's speaking in an ecumenical way to a large audience, and he wants to essentially make everyone happy, cover all the bases. What do you think?
Yes, I think it's probably exactly that, because otherwise it would be very clear. It would say, so when he died, did you actually lose faith or something like that? But I think the message as well for the audience is, at that point, they would be very much understanding the whole story about Jesus, and that him was the Messiah, as the Quran insists on. So if the Messiah arrives, he completes his mission. The fact that he dies or if he's killed, it doesn't change a thing. He still had a mission to accomplish, and he did. So the fact that he didn't then say stay on earth and then live forever with people, never aging or something miraculous like that, should be irrelevant. He had a mission, and the fact of him dying means nothing. Also, when it says other messengers had already basically passed before him, it's like, okay, so because Moses had died, then you stop believing in him. Would you actually do that? What about that guy? What about that guy? Is the fact that he died or was killed is part of the whole mission. He had something to do, it was done, and that shouldn't make you just turn away and saying, well, I will not believe in him because he didn't actually stay and just live forever or destroy the Romans with fire from the heavens or something like that. So I see it in that kind of sense as well.